welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I was going to say coffee talk, but this is not a coffee talk. This is a regular episode. This is episode 3 of season 5. So if you've just joined us, I'm Robyn of Tired Witch Everywhere, and I'm joined by the beautiful Maria of Maria the Arcane Everywhere. And later this episode, we're going to be joined by Paula Victoria Dye, which is very exciting. She's going to talk to us about palmistry. Mm-hmm. So stick with us. It should be good.
Yeah. And we did want to mention that we do have a class this month. It's actually going to be like a couple days after this is released, on Sunday. Yeah. So you still have time to make it. And if you don't want to sign up for Patreon, you can always do the Eventbrite. But it's going to be with Elohim Lafar, and it's going to be on A Dream Witchery. I'm very it's going to be really exciting.
And the links for Patreon and for the Eventbrite are all in our bio, or you can head to our website, coffeeandcauldrons.com, where the links to all of this happily live just right there. I would like to say before we get into anything else, for anybody, because I have had a couple of people ask me recently, what is the Patreon? What is Patreon? Patreon is an app and a website. It's called patreon.com. We're on there. You can go to our website to find it. It's the red logo. And Patreon is like a monthly subscription website where we post things like ad-free episodes of the podcast. We have classes that get posted there, articles that get posted there, and all of it is, depending on your tier, of course, connects to Discord, which is a community chat center app and website where we have all the events that we talk about. So like, for example, this weekend I'm doing a sewing circle for our monthly ritual. We have book club. We actually have 2 book clubs because there's also the smut book club. We've got the class, like Maria just said. We've got monthly meditations. We have just like a lot of stuff going on. And so I have had like probably half a dozen people ask me about it recently. So I just wanted to kind of reinforce what Patreon is. We try to not get too preachy about it on here. But enough people have asked me about it that I just wanted to clarify that Patreon is an app, it is a website, and it is where we offer just kind of a continuation of the podcast. And by joining the Patreon, that's how we're able to fund the podcast, as well as the community that exists within it. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that is going on over there. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, we would love to have you.
Yes, please. It's basically like a blog and a shop and all that all together. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, there's just a ton of stuff going on there. And if you join Patreon, you get the backlog of every article and every post and every class that we've ever posted on there, which is like 500 things.
And then we have a Discord community.
It's a lot. And we have a very active Discord community.
Very active.
So, very active. They never shut up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I am the top commenter on there, as the record board shows. So I'm literally talking about myself.
But we did want to mention also that on our Coffee Talks, we have a number now that you can call us and leave a voicemail and tell us your witchy stories, your ghost stories, or anything you think the community would love to hear. And if you do want to leave that voicemail for us, you can call us at 351-207-0799.
We have so many voicemails too. Our next episode, our next Coffee Talk is going to have to be a voicemail one. We have 12 right now. I'm so excited.
That's fine. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. If you've just joined us this episode, every episode we talk about upcoming lunar phases and how you can utilize those in your personal practice. These are not personal astrological check-ins. These are just what Maria and I recommend if you utilize the moon and want to work with it in terms of spells and just being a witch. That being said, this Saturday, so February 24th, the full moon is going to be in Virgo. And Virgo full moons, I think, are really nice. They're really good for kind of putting foundations back in terms of your magical practice and kind of getting organized, as Virgos love. But because of that, foundational moment. I personally think Virgo full moons are really good for cleansing and protection magic. That's my personal go-to. That being said, I would recommend doing things like, if you haven't put wards up in your house, this is a really good time to do that. Maybe your altar is a friggin' disaster. I know I talk about this a lot on social media. When was the last time you cleansed your altar? Maybe you're somebody who it's been a little while since you've cleansed your altar. This is a good time to utilize kind of just refreshing things, getting the incense ash off your altar, and just really focusing on organizing your own practice in a way that is both respectful and working for yourself. As I already said earlier, the Discord is doing a sewing circle, which I feel is very Virgo full moon of us. I mean, I think that sitting down together and everybody kind of doing their own thing, but doing it together in a very organized fashion it's giving Virgo, in my opinion. And we're doing protection pockets, which again is re-emphasizing doing the cleansing and protection magic, and I think it's going to be really good. So I think focusing on the basics is perfect for Virgo full moon. What about you?
So for me, Virgo, they're the big planners and organizers, and they love to learn and all that. I think this moon would be great to think about plans and goals that you need to wrap up currently, and that you want to come to fulfillment, or even something that's already kind of come to fulfillment, and you just kind of need it to give it a little bit extra oomph. You want more results, better results. This moon would be a great time to get those better results. Or if you have been learning or studying anything, I'm in my apprentice phase thing right now.
She's in her going back to college.
I am years. Without the pressure. but yeah, if you've been learning something, this would be a great mood to keep laying the groundwork to keep that energy of exploration going. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. Keep your hunger for it alive, because, life sometimes gets in the way when you're learning something and you're oh, well, crap, I was taking all these classes, having a lot of fun, and now life has gotten in the way. And then you totally forget about it and you stop doing it. But this would be a great time to be
it's easy to burn out in those situations too.
Well, yeah, if you're so busy in other areas of your life, you're just you start cutting things out and but that's what I would do.
I like that.
So every episode we go over some tarot cards. In the past we've gone over individual cards, and we've also gone over whole different sections in tarot, the aces, the ones, the queens, the kings, the major arcana, the minor arcana. We went over everything that was the previous season. But this year we are concentrating on themes that we find in tarot and our thoughts on said themes and which cards we think represent those themes. Obviously we can't get to every card that may represent these themes, that's unrealistic. So we're just going to pick 3 of our favorites or ones that resonate right now and share them with you guys. But so for this theme, I picked exhausted and burnt out. And if you're anything like us, February has been these things in
the longest year.
It has been the longest year. The longest year ever. I swear I can't believe it's only mid-February. How? Tell me.
That's not true. We have 7 days left in this month, and I'm not counting down personally, but I am.
Fair.
I am.
Yeah, fair. So, this time I thought I would talk about, starting off with the Eight of Wands reversed. Okay, so when upright, I call this the ebb and flow card. What comes up must come down. It's it represents us going on vacation, the excitement that builds up on vacation to go on it and be on it, and then you have it's the whole crash back down to reality, which is represented when it's reversed. But this also represents being super energetic and devoting a lot of your time and energy towards something, like you just go, that's all that's on your mind. That's all, like, your passions and stuff is all towards this one thing. And if you're not watching it and if you're not being careful, you're going to crash. You're going to crash back down to reality. And depending how hard you went on this project, like, depends on, like, that will show, like, how bad the crash is. Like, I see this a lot, like, for people who are chronically ill. Like, when they go way too hard, use way too many spoons, and then all of a sudden they're like, where's my spoons? I don't have any. I'm gonna be...
Where'd my spoons go?
We live on the couch now. Yes. Okay, and then the next card is the Queen of Cups reversed, and, like, upright, the Queen of Cups is really good at regulating, like, other people's emotions with her emotions. Like, she's a listener, she takes in other people's emotions and listens to them and gives her own advice on the emotions. But when she's reversed, she is, like, done. Like, all she does is listen to other people, like, being upset and complain and taking that all in, and no one's listening to her emotions and how, like, sad and overwhelmed she is, and she's just kind of, like, crashed. That's when she goes and introverts and it's like, I'm done with people for a little bit. But yeah, that's a special type of burnout. Okay, and then the next one
She's telling me I don't listen to her enough.
You do. Is the Tower. And that is when the universe steps in and tells us, you've been doing too much. Now I'm going to come in and fuck everything up. I'm gonna fuck everything up. Like, everything's on fire.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the Eight of Wands, where you just keep going. Like, you've already pushed back past, like, burnout. You're just going. And the universe is like, you know what? We're not doing that. Everything's on fire and everything's collapsing, and now you're gonna have to deal with the consequences, like, bodily wise and emotion wise, and even the consequences of going too hard outside of ourselves, because that does happen. Yeah. Like, when we burn out, sometimes we burn out relationships, we burn out, like, chances we could have taken because we were devoting all our time and energy towards one thing when we should have been concentrating on, you know, the whole rather than the minors. But how about you?
So my chronic illness card, because you brought yours up, and that's exactly what I was thinking with my first one, is the Four of Swords reversed, which is that your body or your mind or whatever keeps telling you, we got to slow down. We've got to relax. You're already at your limit. If my husband was here and using this as an analogy, he would say that your heart rate is already at max and you've got to slow it down, because he's a cyclist and he talks about these things.
That resonates a lot. Anyways.
Yeah, and so it's your body, your mind, whatever is literally screaming at you. You're at your max, you've got to chill out, and you just keep going. Yeah. It is, as soon as you started talking about spoons, I was like, yep, that's mine too, the first one. The next one is the Ten of Swords that I've got. I think this one is pretty obvious. Visually speaking, it talks about, you know, being stabbed in the back a whole bunch. But I feel like the Ten of Swords, like, when it comes up for me in readings, typically it's because everyone is putting too much on your plate. So maybe your job is stretching you too thin, the relationship you're in, perhaps you're doing all the cooking, the cleaning, whatever. You're the one providing the most labor in terms of your household. Whatever it might be, it's other people putting it upon you. And it's just a little too much to handle. And perhaps it's time to communicate what we can and we can't do, so that we can heal from that a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And the last one I have is the Seven of Wands reversed. So upright, as we know, the Seven of Wands is trying so hard at something, being ready to throw in the towel, but continuing to move forward anyway. And the Seven of Wands, when it's in reverse, is throwing in that towel because we just can't keep going. Perhaps it's because of like exhaustion, burnout, etc. It can also imply that you are giving up too early. So like, I don't want to dismiss that portion of things as well in terms of interpretation. But if we are talking about this specifically with exhaustion and burnout, the Seven of Wands reverse is being so done that we have to throw in that towel.
Honestly, that the Seven of Wands like reverse seems to happen right before the Ten of Swords. Like the Seven of Wands is like people being like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And you're like, wait. And then the Ten of Swords happens and it's like smack.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And even I completely agree with what you said about the Four Swords, because even when it's reversed, like if you look at it, the swords are like pointing at the body going up. Yep. It's like you're not done yet. You need to stay rested.
It is, in my opinion, the signs were all there for you, baby, and you chose to just go, I can keep going, actually. I don't need to listen to my body. Which is like the exact opposite of the Seven of Wands reverse, but still.
Exactly.
Earlier in this episode, we are joined today by Paula Victoria of P is for Palmistry. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you both for having me. I'm so excited to be on the podcast. I've been listening to the podcast since pandemic days, and I feel like it was the perfect way to feel connected to the community while being really stuck at home. So just kept it going from there. Yeah, and I love that it just feels very conversational and very approachable. So thank you both for having me.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and kind of what's going on with you?
Yeah. Sure, I would love to. So, as Robyn said, my name is Paula Victoria, and I am a professional palmist. I'm also an interior designer, and I like to joke that I am an interior designer, and I talk about people's interior design through palmistry. So it's a little bit of both worlds, right? Working with people and their homes. But in terms of palmistry, I've been reading palms for a very long time. I learned from my grandmother, who taught me at a very young age. She was not a professional palmist, so a lot of people assume that she was this really elderly Filipino woman who was really witchy, like a bruja. She's not at all. She's a very superstitious Catholic. But as that goes, she, would say, oh, look at this line. It looks like you're going to live long or marry rich. And it looks like, you're a very loving person. And then that kind of got me into learning about how to connect with people and how people are in the world and how I can learn about all the different types of people that there are. So after my grandmother sort of introduced me into that, that's how I dove into finding books at Barnes & Noble and at the local library and really just dove in deep. And I've always just stuck to palmistry. It just really, really stuck. So since then, I started a professional palmistry business in, I want to say it was 2021 now, 2020, 2021. And it just started as an Instagram. So it just started as posting my knowledge online. I was working remotely when we first moved to LA around that time, and my wife was in the office. So she would send me Facebook messages of people's palms and say, can you read this person's palm? And so that's kind of how it started. Before then, it was really on and off, sort of how, people's magic ebbs and flows, their interest in learning about it. And so it took off naturally. And so I just leaned into it and really expanded the community. Started doing markets, private events. And then Moondust Press reached out to do a palmistry book for kids, which is very roundabout for me. And it became sort of this healing the inner child of writing the book for myself when I was little, first learning it. It was like the book that I never had when I first started. So that's just a little bit about my palmistry journey.
That's really fun.
Yeah, I know. I like what you said about the interior design, because I know a lot of interior design is like, kind of like blueprints for the thing. So it's like, palm is like the blueprints of like the soul and stuff. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the floor plan of someone's life, you know?
Exactly. So tell our listeners, what is palmistry and what separates it from other forms of divination?
Sure. So palmistry, or there's many names for it, chiromancy, it is the study of the hands, the palms in particular. There's lots of different facets of it, and there's been lots of different iterations of palmistry throughout history. So from what we know in written history, palmistry started about, I want to say 4,000 years ago is when it was first written and recorded, in any sort of form of writing that we have. I'm sure it's much older than that. But it first started in China and India. And in China, it was very medicinal. A lot of doctors looked at the hand to diagnose people and to sort of pick the herbs that they needed in order to heal. And they also used thumbprints. Emperors used thumbprints to sign important documents rather than a signature because no one could forge it.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah. And then in India, it was also for healing practices. I know less about Vedic palmistry. I study more of a Western, so I won't speak too much about that. And then as time went on, a lot of people in history used palmistry to plan battle tactics like Alexander the Great, and it worked pretty well for him for a while. So he used it for battle strategy in order to, do all the things he did. And then it became this practice that passed on through travelers, and that's how it went through Europe and came to the US and to Americas. And then that's sort of the palmistry we have today. So it's gradually evolved over time. There's several ways of practicing, but it is very much the study of the hand, the shape of the hand, the mounts of the hand, and the lines of the hand. So there's different elements. Sometimes it can be injuries to the hand, depending on how you practice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I've never learned anything about palmistry. It's always something that I've meant to learn about. And so I always just find it so fascinating when you have these little pockets of divination that I don't know anything about.
Yeah. I looked at it in like high school and I did a lot of research into it, but I don't know, since having kids and, having a kid, I'm like, my brain just went, meh, so I need to relearn.
I get that a lot, actually. Most of the people that come to me for readings, even though they could be other readers or they have a really deep practice, they've never had their palm read for a lot of different reasons. And sometimes it's just because they're scared I'm going to tell them when they're going to die, which is totally false. I cannot tell you that. I'm sorry if you want to know. Actually, someone the other day said, I would love for you to tell me when I'm going to die so I can just live it up.
No. So we had opened up our questions for you to our Discord, and one of the big ones that kept coming up, like multiple people asked it, is getting your palms read. Is this something you should do like routinely, once? Like if you were going to do it more than once, how often would you recommend somebody do something like that?
So the lines on your hands change throughout time. So one time throughout your whole life probably won't cut it for your whole life, right? Your fate is in your hands. So you decide after you get a reading, any reading really, not just palm readings, how you take the message, what you do with it, right? And I'm sure, reading tarot, it's the same thing. Someone can keep coming back to you and say, so I still haven't found love, and, they haven't done anything. So it really depends on the person, and it depends on, I like to look at hand types. So the 4 archetypal hand types are elementally based. So someone who's an earth hand might like structure, and they want the same routine over and over again. They want that 9-to-5 job, something really stable. Someone like that might not need a palm reading once a year, maybe once every 10 years, or as major events happen is a good sort of marker for that. But someone who's a fire hand, who might be a little bit more impulsive, who needs constant change, think of sort of lighting a candle or a bonfire and how, spontaneous the flames are. That's sort of that personality. I would say once a year on their birthday or a holiday to get a palm reading, or to read their own palms and see how the lines change. So yeah, it kind of just depends. If you have a lot of major life changes too, like you get married, you have children, you move, you change careers, those can be indicators that you could kind of check to see how that's affected the trajectory of your life.
That's so fun. I didn't know that. I thought it was like a one and done sort of thing.
Yeah, it happens a lot to me where someone said, oh, I got my palm read, because I always ask, have you had a reading before? And then I preface it with how my readings go. And a lot of times people, if they have had readings, they're like, oh, one time 20 years ago, I was in high school and it was one of those, second floor walk-up readers. Right. They pulled me from the sidewalk and they told me I was going to die in 30 years or something like that. So there's a lot of stigma around palmistry, I think, because of how some people have experienced it.
Oh yeah, that's just like with tarot.
Just like tarot. I mean, I don't know how often I get told that I'm a scammer, and it's like, I don't know about that, but okay.
Yeah, right. How? What are you doing that's like so terrible that you're scamming them of,
Yeah, obviously everybody's entitled to have their own opinions about things, but I do think that there are a select few people that give the much bigger picture a really bad name, and that's unfortunate.
Right. Yeah. So, if someone wanted to get into palmistry, what advice would you give them?
So there's a lot more resources now than I had on the beginning of my journey. So there's kind of tiers of how interested are you. If you just heard this podcast, you're like, oh, I've never thought of learning palmistry. Google carefully. Google's free, right? Like researching on the internet is free. So it's a free resource. It's great. There are a lot of really great overall articles of here are the basics of palmistry, maybe through major online publications. Actually, when I was researching for the book, I was really shocked because that didn't exist before. That's probably in the last 5 years. People are more interested in learning about themselves in different ways, I think. So I would start there just to learn basics. Don't, everything with a grain of salt. And then there's also a lot of really great books. So if you're new to palmistry, I would just check out your local bookstore. I would, look for books that are online and look for books that have a lot of pictures. It's just easier to learn that way. I would stay away from text-heavy books or books that have a few images. Maybe, I think one of the good ones, I don't know the author off the top of my head, but if you look it up, it's the Palmistry Bible. And it's really simple because it's very graphic. And it's a really good beginner, let's dip the toes in the water kind of book.
Totally.
Really easily accessible. It's like a little square book and it's like this thick, but it's all pictures. And then
especially when you're dealing with something that is so like detail oriented, I can see why photos would be so helpful.
Right. And then there's also another great, it's sort of a palmistry kit, but I really love it. And Helena's wonderful. So there's a palmistry kit called Handful of Stars. It's underneath my laptop, so that's what I'm looking at right now. But Handful of Stars, and it's a palmistry guidebook and a printing kit. So you can actually use ink to roll on your hands and print it on a piece of paper and look at the lines that way if you have a hard time looking directly at your hands. So it's really fun. All ages. Super fun. And then as you get deeper into it, a book that a lot of palmists swear by is The Art and Science of Hand Reading. And it's by Ellen Goldberg and Dorian Bergen. And that is sort of the seasoned palmist, all the info you would ever need. It feels like a textbook, like a college textbook or something like that. So those are great books. Other than that, as you kind of learn, start on your own hands. It's hard. It's like reading your own, tarot. It can be a little tricky, but you can start on your own hands and kind of look at the different lines, look at the curvature, look at the shapes, look at the shape of your hand, and then go to trusted friends and family. Don't go to strangers and say, can I read your palm? I would just start with, hey, I'm really learning something new. I thought it would be fun to sort of try because it is a great way to connect with someone.
You're saying that someone should be like, hey, I was just reading for a whole week. I'm ready to charge you $50 to read
Yeah, please don't do that. It takes a lot of time to practice.
I actually think that walking up to strangers and offering them unsolicited life advice is a good idea. Many think so.
That reminds me of the elementary thing where, you know, like they would be like, okay, show me your hand, and then they're like, oh, I see you're gonna have a pull, and then they like spit in your hand. Like that's what I would expect from someone walking up to you.
You've never heard of the one where you like you go like this and then you like pinch from the center?
No.
You've never done that?
No.
I guess you and I were just different breeds.
No, we just spat in hands. It's fine.
Yeah,
we did
in California. We don't do that. We're civilized out here in California. We don't spit in people's hands. Much to consider.
Oh no.
So, in terms of like the lines and mounds and all that on your hands, are there any like main points that somebody should know if they were like, I don't know, just like looking at their hand and wanting to get an idea of like where the main like changes come from?
Sure, definitely. So the changes on the hand, I would definitely look at the lines. Things like the shape of your hand, the shape stays the shape. I mean, as children grow up, of course, their hand grows into the adult shape, right? So a lot of kids' hands are just cute and square and really chubby, and it's you don't really know the full shape yet when they're really, really young. But then the mounts, sometimes I've seen mounts change, but for the most part, that's sort of basis of your personality. Same as the shape of your hand. The lines, though, one thing that I would look at first that's really simple for everyone to check, and it might take a couple times to check to see the depth of the lines, is just to see how deep your lines are at the moment. That's what changes the most. So if you have really deep lines, and some people just have very, not as deep lines because of their hand type. But if your lines are typically one way, let's say you're having a really great day, you're in a great place, that depth is probably your standard depth. If you're really stressed out, or you're going through a tough time, you have lack of sleep for whatever reason, maybe you just had a baby, then maybe the lines can be a little bit shallow and not as deep because you need a recharge, right? Maybe you're just not your 100% full tank that you usually are. So that's something that everyone can check, really easy to kind of observe. And then it's just a great way to check in with yourself and know, let me be a little bit more patient and kind with myself right now. I'm just not at my 100%, or I'm really doing really great right now. Maybe it's a good time to release this new project I've been thinking about, or this new, thinking about some new ideas. So great way to check in with yourself. Other than that, the way that lines typically change are your headline. So kind of hard to describe on a podcast, but if you look at your pointer finger, and I guess on YouTube you can see right underneath, there's this line here that starts on the side of your pointer finger and goes across your palm towards the pinky side of your hand. That's called your headline. And so mine kind of stops, underneath my ring finger, or the Apollo finger. And that's how you think. So that changes over time. It can be really short and you're more impulsive, or you're quick to make decisions. Maybe you're more big picture thinking and less detail oriented. And then sometimes what I'll see is if it goes straight across the palm and ends sort of in the middle, that's a practical thinker. That's someone who's going to be really great at, getting the car with the great ratings, like safety ratings, and they're going to think about all those things. If it curves down to where Luna is on, it's a Luna mount. This is where creativity and imagination lives, and intuition. So sometimes I'll see that someone has a career change or is thinking about changing their jobs, and I see that there's this either break or this direct curve that goes from where their practical thinking would be, and it goes down to this more creative, imaginative thinking. And then I'll say, well, it looks like there's going to be a major change that makes you more creative or makes you think outside of the box more. So signs point to that. It could be a career change. It could be some sort of lifestyle change. So that's one of my favorite things to look at. I've seen that a lot in the last 2 to 3 years, I think, in terms of reading people multiple times. Is the way that they think tends to change the most on the hand.
That makes sense.
I love that. So fascinating.
There's a lot of people don't realize that you can, a lot of the readings I do at markets or in person, they're 15 minutes, but you could totally do online and do 1 hour readings. And I always go over the hour time because there's just so much
to talk about.
Yeah.
It's so much fun though. So do major changes occur in the hands, or is it more subtle? Oh, I guess we kind of went over that.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Well, okay. Another one that was asked on our Discord was like, you mentioned that people get like scars and stuff. How does that read into readings? Like if you have like a scar or like...
Sure. So I tend to read into scars or moles or marks on the hand a little bit less than other readers do. Some readers are really fascinated by them, and it's just a style of reading, I think. But if you, let's say, you're cooking and you accidentally, cut one of your fingers, each finger correlates with a, it's sort of like astrology, a different planet, or, a different archetype. So if you cut your pointer finger, which we mentioned earlier, this is Jupiter. And so it could be maybe an indicator to focus more on ambition, or it's talking about your self-confidence. So it's sort of a way of fate telling you to pay attention. Or if there's something right in the middle of your palm, which, ouch, but if you get, there's like a stigmata mark in the middle of your palm. It's not ominous in terms of palmistry, I promise. This whole center part of your palm.
But it is ominous if I've done it to you.
Yeah. So scary. In the middle of your palm, this is what's called the plane of Mars, and it's all about aggression, not in a overtly aggressive way, but it's about temperament, I guess is a better word for it. So it's a way of saying either, step it up and speak up more, or maybe you should take a step back and stop being so, direct or abrasive, maybe take a gentler approach to whatever's happening in your life at the moment. So it depends on the area you get the cut, I would say.
I love that. That's really fascinating.
Right?
It really is.
It's so interesting.
It's time for another hyperfixation, Robyn. It's time.
I needed another one. We had one other question, but we've already covered it in terms of books that you would recommend, which I will put the books in the caption for anybody who is interested, along with Paula's upcoming book. So that being said, I think that's all of our questions. Yeah. So would you please do us a favor and remind our lovely listeners where they can find you, what you have coming out? Just plug yourself entirely here so that way people can circle back.
Sure. So again, I mentioned Instagram a few times. Instagram, I would say, is the best way to keep up with what I'm doing. I'm very heavy on Instagram. So my Instagram is p.isforpalmistry. And you can give me a follow there. You can book a reading with me virtually if you are not in the LA area, or in the LA area and you'd like a longer format reading. They're really intimate. The virtual readings are very intimate. I also offer PDF readings through my website, and you can find the link through my Instagram, but it's also pisforpalmistry.com. Really easy. And then in terms of things that are coming out, my book with Moondust Press is In Your Hands, A Kid's Guide to Palmistry. And that will be coming out this summer, but you can actually pre-order it now and help us gain visibility and read a little bit more about the book through anywhere you buy books, really, which is very, very exciting. The easiest way to find it is on Amazon. And instead of Paula Victoria as the author name on there, I would search PV Dai. So my last name, D-A-I, is the author name. And just search the title of the book and you should find it, and you can pre-order it. And Moondust Press, if you want to give them a follow, will be posting more and more about the book going on, but they've posted some information on there as well. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me. If you're in the LA area, you can follow me on Instagram to see upcoming markets and events. My next one is in March. If you're just listening to this now, my next one is in the middle of March, the third week of March, so you can come find me in person. And yeah, I think that's it.
Very exciting.
Yeah,
thank you.
Congratulations on the book. Yeah, thank
Majorly.
you.
We're huge Moon Dust fans over here, so it's very exciting. And like I said before, everybody, this will be in the bio. Everything that she's stated in this you can find it there for more information. So if you're like, wait, what did she say? Check the bio of the episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Maria, what's stirring your cauldron this week?
Let me tell you. This is so funny knowing that's going to be on video. Anyway.
I know. The thing is what's funnier about it is the fact that we've done it this way since forever, and nobody knew that. And now they know.
Now everyone's going to watch our expressions. I'm so sorry.
Yikes.
Anyways. What's stirring my cauldron right now is that I've been moonbathing, but not just for like the full moon. I've been doing it for every phase because, okay, let me go into my whole psychotic thing. Which I do want to say there's no science right now to back this up, so keep that in mind. But, we're witches. We know the moon affects people, and if you're a nurse, you know the moon affects people. But anyways, I digress. Okay, we go out into the sun to get vitamin D, correct? And
correct.
Why wouldn't the moon...
Yes, I am a scientist. That is correct.
Why wouldn't the moon be as important? Because the moon does affect the Earth. Like, it affects the waves. It affects a lot of different things on our planet and ecologically. Yeah. So why wouldn't it not affect us? But so I've been going outside, even if it's not the full moon, and sitting underneath the waning, the waxing, and even the dark moon, and just kind of like doing some deep breathing exercises and stuff like that. I don't bring out my phone. If anything, I will bring out my journal and I will write in it. And that's all that I do for like, let's say like 30 minutes. But
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
But when people bathe their buttholes in the sun, are you doing that with the moon?
I'm not doing
just
it
out of curiosity.
No, I'm not sky clad.
Boring. I really think you should take it to the next level.
No, I don't even do that in the sun.
You're telling me that here in the year of 2024, you've not put your butthole to the sun once?
No.
I haven't either. We're really boring.
No one needs to see that. Especially the sun. Poor sun. Sees too much.
Sorry, son.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, even just the practice of it has been very calming and been very important to me, especially lately. But yeah, I highly recommend moonbathing. So if you're into it and you're like, that sounds great, I recommend doing it. And tell me how you feel. Let's do our own scientific experiment. Tell me how you feel.
Perfect.
By actually being outside with the moon. Because I do find
it's too cold here.
It's cold outside too, but I still I wrap myself in a blanket. I wear the long hoodie, the blanket hoodies that are out now that go to your ankle, and I just sit out there. This
girl sat in a snuggie outside.
But how during the full moon you get typically super tired and exhausted or unhinged. I find if I'm outside during the full moon and I'm actually being mindful of the moon, I'm outside spending time with it, I do not feel as exhausted the next day. Something to consider. Maybe it's just me.
I'll consider
Maybe it's
it.
just me.
It's been considered.
But anyway,
check.
Yeah.
I'll try it, but I probably am going to have to wait till summertime because it's literally 18 degrees outside right now in the nighttime.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that
it's about 30 degrees.
I have that in me. There's not a snuggie on earth that will keep my toesies warm.
Oh, I go numb in some areas. I'm like, well, I guess it's time to go inside.
This feels like ice bathing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which I would never do.
And yet, here we are. So, perhaps that's what's regulating your body.
Yes. I never thought of it that way. That's so funny. So, Robyn, what was that? That was terrifying. what is not stirring your cauldron this week?
Thank you so much for asking.
Oh, you're so welcome. That wasn't as sensual as I was hoping it would be.
Well, my cat did interrupt it, so the first take, which was really good. So everyone know that the first time she said it, it was really hot and heavy.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, ghost activity, but no, it was just Marceline.
Just Marceline. She's turning into an old lady, and so she's doing a lot of like slinking about, and I'm just like,
she's in her crone phase.
Yeah, she really is, including doing stuff like laying down like in my spot and then refusing to move. So anyway, I digress.
Claim your space, girl.
What is not stirring my cauldron right now is the same thing that's not stirring Maria's cauldron right now, which is Pluto moving into Aquarius. In general, now I'm not an astrologer.
Astrologist.
Words are hard.
Astrologer.
I'm not an astrologer, but my understanding of Pluto and Aquarius is it affects things like our ego in a pretty significant way. And everybody's being so mean, including myself. Like, I'm not sat here pretending like I'm above everyone else. I'm also being a massive see you next Tuesday. I know that. Okay, I'm self-aware. I'm working on it. But everybody's being like really testy. Everybody is not giving people grace. We've talked about this in our Discord. But hey guys, we've noticed that everybody's getting a little touchy with each other, which is not like our Discord at all. So, yeah, I'm not vibing with it. I'm pretty much ready at this point for that to be done, and I'm pretty sure that we have a very long time before that changes.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Aquarius is such like an individual sign, but they still like community and doing well for community, but their individuality can sometimes get in the way where they're like, oh, my thoughts are the most important thoughts. And I think that energy
causing a lot of conflict.
A lot of conflict. If you're on Threads, like, the world is on fire on Threads. I've blocked so many people
Threads.
And have hidden
I
so
love Threads.
many people.
But holy cow, I got in a fight with somebody on Threads the other day. Not a fight, and not an actual fight, but this guy just kept commenting on my stuff. No, that wasn't even the J.K. Rowling post. This was a totally separate post where this guy basically called a mutual friend of mine some bad names, and so I was like, are you good? Because you know me, I always have to defend people when they're my friend. I can't help myself. And so I was fully like, are you good, friend? And then they were like, I'm not your friend. And I was like, ooh, relax. And he just kept going until I started saying, I think that therapy might be a good choice for you. And he did not like that at all, and told me a bunch of really horrible things I will not be repeating on the podcast. And I was just like, are you good? Like, guy saying the most atrocious shit I've ever heard in my life. You're right, pal. You don't need therapy. You are good.
Yeah.
Never been better.
It's just that whole thing of people like expressing their truths as the only truths that everyone should like take in. And it's like, guys, that's not how it works. Goodness gracious. And stop getting so caught up. Yeah, stop getting caught up in parasocial relationships. Stop it. Stop it. You look ridiculous. You sound ridiculous.
Speaking of the J.K. Rowling post that I did, this guy from there, and again, another man, went to an Instagram post of mine from a year ago and commented on it, being like, oh, you're selling oils, you're a scammer. And I was like, all right, like, this is healthy and normal behavior, because I don't like a children's author. And then he commented back to me again a week and a half later, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, have we considered, I don't know, not doing this?
I can't understand how much people just waste their time. But whatever.
That gets so mad. Like, anyway, my point being, Pluto and Aquarius, it's testing our egos.
No.
So let's just, everybody check yourself, because you're riggedy wrecking yourself. So
start journaling, guys. Start journaling out your thoughts and stop posting them to the internet.
Yeah. 100%. If you've just joined us this week, every week we talk about creators that we are loving right now. This can be shops, books, other podcasters, artists, whatever. Anything that we are just thinking that is super neato. And these are not ads. This is just stuff that Maria and I are finding organically and think that you guys might be into. Simultaneously, we have a third creator that gets submitted every episode now that is a listener submission. So if you think somebody is super cool and you think the community might like their stuff, send it to us on social media and we'll try to share as much as we can.
Yeah.
That being said, Maria, who are you digging this week?
So I am loving blueridgebotanic on both Instagram and on Threads. I don't know if she is on TikTok or anything like that, but she's just so amazing.
Not TikTok users.
No. She goes out into the Blue Ridge Mountains, obviously, and she goes and talks about all the plants that she finds and their like properties and stuff like that. And I love it. I could like watch it all day, just repeatedly, just go click through different videos and listen because it's very interesting. And I love hearing about stuff you can find out in nature and things that I should be keeping an eye out for, because it's nice to be able to look at a plant and be like, I know what that is. And
that is cool.
Know what it's used for. I mean, I don't know.
My friend Rachel was telling me that she's got her 3-year-old doing that, and I love it.
That's so cute. I love that very much. I wish I could get my witchling to get on it, but they're like, right now, they're at that teen stage where they're like outside. No, just indoors. So getting them outside to do anything. And they're like, no thanks. So it's like, okay. But who are you loving?
I, along with the Smut Book Club of the Discord, was eyeballing a Kindle case from Quirky Cup Collective since like August, maybe September. They had like teased that they were going to do this Smut Slut Kindle cover, like, sleeve. And they do a lot of really cool sleeves in general. Like if you're not into the smut thing, they do really cool embroidered Kindle sleeves that have like the sun and the moon and just beautiful designs. And the entire group had like alarms on their phone, and I had my sleeve purchased within 1 minute of it going live because I was not going to miss this drop. As we know, I miss every freaking drop under the sun. I had Francis put alarms on his phone. I was like, I'm not missing this. I have been eyeballing this for months, and I got it, and I'm very excited. Should be here next week.
Yeah, Quirky Cup Collective, for even
They're
other things. Cool. They, like, she makes the most gorgeous cups
reading journals
ever. Yeah.
Stickers, just really cool stuff. Pens. She's got pens now that are really beautiful. Like, the entirety of Quirky Cup Collective is very cute. I just love that, like, the little hive mind that is the Smut Book Club was like, oh no, we're all getting this. I think like 4 or 5 of us in the group got it, and like considering there's only like 10 of us, that's a pretty high percentage. Yeah.
Aw, you guys are gonna be so cute with your little sleeves.
That is correct. Who is our listener choice?
One that definitely reflects us. Hidden Houses. They're on Instagram, and they have like a possum art.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of
our little babies.
Possum art.
Yeah,
little possum art, and it's all like stained glass. I love that. That's just chef's kiss.
We love trash.
I love it. We're garbage people.
Yeah.
And these are garbage art, and I love it.
I always like to watch the possums that get like adopted because they're hurt, and they're just so cute with their little nose.
They're literally so cute. I don't care if they have like crazy smiles. They're so cute.
Creepy babies. We love creepy babies.
thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again on Friday, March 1st for our next Coffee Talk episode. As a reminder, we should be listening to some voicemails, which is going to be very exciting. Or you can join us on March 8th for our next main episode of Season 5. You can keep an eye out on our social media or head to our website, coffeeandcauldrons.com, to find out more information or to see what we're up to. Or again, if you're somebody who has asked me about the Patreon, the links are all there, so you can head there. It's the red button that says Patreon. And don't forget to join us this weekend on February 25th for our class with Elohim Lafar. He's going to be doing a class on dream magic, which is very exciting. It's available for the library tier and up. Or you can head to Eventbrite, which is also in our link tree, if you're not interested in the Patreon, but you are interested in this class.
And additionally, our Patreon Magical Beginnings offers our special 25-minute part 2 episode, which we have taken a break from it for like a while now because Robyn is obviously on a maternity leave-ish thing still, but that we should be getting that going here.
I think next month we're going to be starting them back up again.
Yeah, but we have a ton of questions, so very excited to get to those. And we also have a huge library of articles about witchcraft, a Discord community full of fun of events. Fun of events! And we have a tier that offers one-on-one conversations with Robyn and myself. So you can hear us, say events over and over and over again on the phone. Yeah.
But if you are somebody who really wants one-on-one mentorship, that's what the intent of that tier is for.
Oh, yes, definitely.
The intention is that we help you one-on-one through your magical practice. It's great. It's fun. And we do talk like dummies. Listen, we have speech impediments. It's not our fault. And please, if you're loving our sexy, sensual, just chef's kiss voices, take a moment to review us on whatever streaming service you are tuning in from. So that might be Spotify, Apple. If you are here on YouTube with us, hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Reading your reviews are really important to us. Like, we really enjoy them. And rating us at all, but 5-star and above, helps us get seen by other people. So we would really appreciate it if you could take that few seconds. And thank you for everyone who has done it. We appreciate you.
Yeah. So again, this is Coffee and Cauldrons
with Robyn from At a Tired Witch everywhere.
And I'm Maria from at Maria the Arcane everywhere. You ready?
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Bye.
Hey, that was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.